Mic check 1 2 1 2 1 2. Shabbat shalom. I mean Shabbat shalom. Shalaki, y'all. I'm moving too fast. Moving too fast, man. Shalom to everybody. Shalom. Peace. Welcome. This is DSTM on the spot edition. This is impromptu. I didn't really plan it, but the information made me move forward in the spirit and put out this next episode, which would be number 75. Don't fret, y'all. Don't fret, y'all. I had recorded it earlier, right? And there was an issue with me sharing the screen. So some of y'all may have seen the first edition or the first recording that I did, but my bad on the technicalities of not sharing the screen and the articles that I was presenting. I didn't realize it until after it was already premiering on YouTube. So I cut the recording, so don't nobody think YouTube and cut me off or shut me off or whatever. I did that because the technical issues that I had by not sharing my screen correctly. So getting back to the business, back to the drawing board. All right, you see the title, you see what's going on. The Supreme Court has blocked the mandate of Slow Biden's administration to require all employees of companies with 100 or more employees to either be fully poked 3 times. Well, right now they're saying 2 times. The third is on the table, but we already know they've already changed the language for you either being fully compliant with the roll up, or uh, you have to have submitted testing weekly. So, with that being understood, the Supreme Court, went to bat on behalf of the Constitution and whatnot. And earlier today, they found it necessary to overturn the slow Biden administration when it came down to these mandates. So, does that mean that we, start partying in the streets? Does that mean that the war is over? Hell no. You see the thumbnail. Don't sleep. Don't go to sleep. It's not over. That's a battle that quite possibly could have been won in this war. But I'm going to introduce a different angle to how I foresee this whole thing playing out. Um, as always, this scripture is one of my favorites, and it's always applicable, especially now in the times that we're living in right now, as it pertains to the so-called white man, the deceptive ways that he's leading astray the sheeple. You know, by any means necessary, he's on a mission, right? So let's not sleep, okay? When he speaketh fair, believe him not. Proverbs 26:25 is where we're reading from. Am I see there I go again. I'm just too listen, I'm moving too fast in the spirit. I'm clearly not moving right. Okay. I'm moving too fast. The information came out. I was in the spirit, like, man, I got to put this, I got to get it on DSTM immediately. Immediately. Okay. And by doing so, I'm moving too fast, y'all. Let me slow down before I mess up a whole nother video again. Let me share my screen. Let me make sure I'm on deck. Okay. All right. So here we go. Looking at Proverbs 26, verse 25. It says, when he speaketh fair, believe him not, for there's 7 abominations in his heart. This is completely applicable to this administration that's going on right now, to the previous administrations, and to the complete rulership of the so-called white man, as he constantly is imposing on uh, these unjust laws, unrighteous ways, unrighteous decrees, as it says in the book of Isaiah 10 in verse 2. It says, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, right? And even talks about making, I believe it's in Proverbs or no, or Psalms, where it talks about him imposing grievousness through laws. Kind of paraphrasing, just for time's sake. Um, don't sleep, y'all. Don't think that, oh, Supreme Court came to our rescue. It's all good. For some of us, you can say, man, all praise to the Most High that we've gotten an extension on this grace. to get our acts together and to move accordingly to how the spirit of the world is moving and to how our oppressor is moving. Because if you've been noticing the past couple of DSTMs that I've been doing, the constant spirit is don't sleep, don't fall asleep, don't think that, because there's an overturn here or because there's a little victory over there that, this thing is over with. Don't think because the warfare that, the initial inception that I brought out, that spirit was that all of the nuclear powered nations came to a head and decided that, hey, we don't want to have no nuclear war. That's not how we're going to win. Nobody wins with that. Y'all remember that? The UK, France, China, Russia, and the US all came together in a meeting and had an agreement and said, hey, let's not take it to the nukes. And then if you watch the rest of DSTM, I showed you reasons why scripturally and through other means of articles as to why it's not a time to sleep, because there's other things that's still brewing underneath. Okay, so we see this here. When he's speaking fair, don't believe him. He's bubbling up seven more abominations. That's a fact. Thus saith the Lord. First Peter 5. Let's read the 8th verse. See, the time is now. Okay, time is now. Most High told us, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. I mean, there's still plenty of meat on the table. There's still prey to get chased down and caught. Satan is not done playing. While we go to sleep, while we dreaming and all that, he don't sleep. He's constantly awake. He's constantly in our dreams, influencing unrighteous thoughts and all kind of madness. While we're sleeping, he's not. He's on the move. So the scriptures is advising us to be sober and be vigilant, meaning to be aware, to be awoken, to make sure that we're staying alert to what's going on. It ain't the time to go to sleep. You understand? So be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, the deceiver, and the accuser. When you look at adversary, you look at the devil. Both attributes that apply to Satan and his minions, his agents, the so-called white man, who had decided that he was going to be the one to bow down to inherit all of the powers of the prince of the air. You know, John 4. I mean, excuse me. Is it John? Yeah, I believe it's John the fourth chapter, where after Yahweh came off of his 40-day and 40-night fast, Satan came and tempted him with all the kingdoms of the earth and so forth and so on, said was given into his hands. He said, all you got to do is bow down to me. Hey, well, you know who did it? The third beast of Daniel, the 7th chapter, Revelation 13. He said, I'll bow down. And it tells you in Revelation 13. And the power and the beast was given his power from Satan. So he's on the move, walking about seeking whom he may devour. The only time that one gets devoured, when you look at the animal kingdom shows or whatnot, man, and the lions, they're looking for that gazelle. They're looking for that wildebeest. They're looking for the one that's sleeping. They're looking for the slow one. They're looking for the one that's not paying attention, that got lost and didn't follow the flock, you know, and that's the victim. So don't sleep. Don't sleep. Let me get another scripture, Second Ezra. Second Ezra. Let me look it up in. Where's my apocrypha? Here we go. Second Ezra 16. And let me see. I maybe want to start it. Is it 34? Let me see. Yeah, here we go. Now when I went off on a little tangent a little bit earlier, right? If you I don't know if the live made it to that particular part. But nonetheless, we're seeing the last day prophecies and understanding what's going to be happening on the earth, the things that's going to be transpiring during these perilous times. Now, verse 33. Second Ezra 16:33 says, the virgin shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. The daughter shall mourn, having no helpers. Now, another thing, like I said in the previous recording that got deleted, if you didn't see it, no problem. I'm gonna just repeat it right now. For you sisters out there that are just so stone-hearted in regards to the understanding or the acceptance of polygyny as a lawful union according to the laws of the Most High, think about what the Most High is showing you right here. And that's not to say that you got to do it right now. You have to do it at all or whatever. Just know that thus said the Lord, according to prophecy, there's going to be a scarcity of men. There's going to be a need for widows, bridegrooms, young maidens, so forth and so on, to seek and look for husbands, and they're not going to be available. Why? Because it's letting you know man is going to be scarcity. The scriptures tell you in Isaiah, the 13th chapter, that a good man is going to be more precious than the gold of Ophir. A good one. We ain't talking about the Rudy Poot Negro or the nigga on the street. No, no, no. Like the scriptures in the book of Sirach, they tell you, keep thou continually with a man whom thou knowest to keep the commandments, right? So the time is going to come when there's going to be a scarcity of men. Why? Verse 34, in wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. There's going to be warfare, civil warfare, racial warfare. There's going to be wars and rumors of wars that pertains to kingdoms that men are going to be involved in, and they're going to be perishing. There's going to be a famine that ill advised and unlearned men of the world and niggas out there is not going to be prepared when the famine starts to hit. Not only was it, the Most High tells us there's going to be a famine, not only of bread and water, but also of hearing the word. So there's going to be a destitute amount of men out there, right? So that's why sisters got to be in your right mind frame and don't be so stubborn and saying, well, I'll never do that. I ain't sharing and da, da, da. Listen, you're going to have to completely get your mind in order to understand and know what it means to survive and truly be humbled under the law of the Most High and under the will of the Lord. So again, this ain't a class or lesson about that, but just see and know what's going on and what's going to be happening. Okay, because there is going to be a destitute amount of men. Now, let me just drop down and read here. I'm gonna finish reading. It says, hear now these things and understand them, ye servants of the Lord. Well, who's the servants of the Lord? Leviticus 25:55 tell you the children of Israel are the servants of the Most High, right? Verse 36, behold, the word of the Lord. Receive it. Receive it, hardhead, stiff necks. Believe not the gods of whom the Lord spake. Speaking about the gods of other nations. He's speaking about the reasons why, the worshiping and honoring of the other gods. Most I say, you don't believe them, you better believe me. Behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack. Can we agree on that? I mean, wars, rumors of wars. We said that ad nauseum. Volcanoes erupting, extreme weather conditions. I mean, I just seen an article. They said a town in Australia right now is 123 degrees. It just set a record. They're living in 123-degree weather in this particular town in Australia, right? There's a massive cold front that's going on right now in the western hemisphere. Extreme colds that's going on, right? So we're seeing uh accelerated weather patterns going on, tornadoes, floodings, famines, pestilence. It's all here, and they're not slacking. Fires, destroying. Right? They're drawing near and they're not slacking. Verse 38 is really where we want to go to. And when a woman, Salaki, as when a woman with child in the ninth month bringeth forth her son with 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb. Which pains? When the child come forth, they slack not a moment. Even so, verse 39, even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn and sorrow shall come upon it on every side. So we're not looking at good times, okay? No JJ, there's no Florida, there's no James, there's no Michael. You understand? There's no Walona, not in this story. The world is going to mourn, sorrows are going to come upon it on every side. We're still in the labor room right now, y'all. We're still in the labor room. The child's still going to be delivered. There's no abortions on this one. It says with 2 or 3 hours of great pains can pass her wound. When you get them contractions that keep constantly hitting, for you sisters out there that's had rough labors, that sat in labor for 23, 24, 26 hours, you know, at the eighth or ninth hour, you thinking, ooh, this might be it, this might be it. Oh, nope, that wasn't it. 15th hour, and they coming even harder, even more stronger, and just ain't happening. You're not dilating enough, you know, but you're thinking it's the end. So remember, you're looking at 2 or 3 hours. I'm not saying we're in the last hour. The scripture said, man, no, not even the angels in heaven or or Yahweh Shai. But we stay alert. We stay vigilant. We're watching. Most High is not subject to our time frame. He's not looking at 24, 48 hours. We're just looking at the time frames of how often and occurring these contractions can hit. And it may seem like it's over, but it ain't. You understand? So as we're understanding and knowing where we're at, this ain't the time to be thinking, oh, we want a victory. Everything's great, man. Supreme Court got our back. That's not the case. Okay, let's look at this. All right, so Slow Biden took a L today, or did he? That's what we're going to try to figure out. So the Supreme Court blocks the Biden. Oops, let me make sure I'm on here. Okay. Supreme Court blocks Biden vid jab mandate for businesses, allows healthcare worker rule. Okay. So everybody knows, everybody's been waiting, wondering and trying to figure out and understand where this thing is going to head. How oppressive will the jaws of this beast clamp down on us? And for some it's a victory, man. Don't get me wrong. All praise to the Most High, because I know some of our people was under pressure, trying to figure out, where this thing was going to take them, where it was going to go, how bad will it get, and you have some Israelites who broke down and got poked, and now probably kicking themselves in the ass and like, damn. And the mandate the mandate was unconstitutional. The mandate got overturned by the Supreme Court, and I broke. I didn't keep the faith. I didn't maintain diligence. I didn't fully trust in the Most High. I made excuse. Now you got that thing floating around in you, and you realize, hey, it could have been all for naught. But look, what are the key points of this article? The Supreme Court on Thursday blocked the Biden administration from enforcing its sweeping jab or test requirements for large private companies, but the conservative majority court allowed a vaccine mandate to stand for medical facilities take Medicare or Medicaid payments. So the mandate is in place and still in effect for medical facilities that take Medicare or Medicaid payments. So if you're working for any medical facility, hospital, care center, so forth and so on, and they take Medicare, meaning they take government payment, which is also Medicaid, is government payment, the government subsidized insurances, they have to be mandated. So you see how they intertwine that? And that's another thing to consider. If you're on government based assistance, that leaves the door open for them to insert this mandate because the government is sponsoring it. The government's paying for it. The government is covering it. So is it possible that they could finagle that into the situation? Absolutely, because we see it here. Everybody else who was operating independent of the government, oh, you can't step on them toes. But if you're involved in government sponsored or paid activities, they can still mandate. So SNAP, WIC, EBT, Section 8, all of the above, that's possible. That they, insert that into those federal safety net programs and make life hard for people. It's possible. I'm not saying it's happening or it's going to happen. I don't know. I don't have the information to prove that yet. I do have some information that could definitely acknowledge that that's on the table. That's a fact. But they haven't done it yet. But we see where they're drawing the line. Okay. So the OSHA mandate required that workers at businesses with 100 or more employees get jabbed or submit a negative vid test weekly to enter the workplace. So that's what was on the table. The Supreme Court overruled it. They told OSHA you're out of pocket, um, because they were acknowledging and saying, well, hold on. Here we go. Although Congress has indisputably given OSHA the power to regulate occupational dangers, that's what OSHA's job is. Their job is to make sure that things are safe at the workplace. So they're supposed to step in when it comes down to, um, gun in the workplace, safety with making sure that you've got an ergonomically set chair, keyboard if you're working in the office, mouse, all that other stuff. They got to make sure that all of the exit signs are up, that you got your earthquake preparedness kits on deck. That you've got handicap access and all. That's what they're there for. If something seems to be a danger at a job, OSHA steps in, regulates the company, tells them, "Hey, get it together." But the government utilized this pandemic as a means to say, hey, if you don't acknowledge that employees need to be jabbed, then you're creating occupational dangers for people that's working. You see how they try to slide that in there? Well, it's an occupational hazard if people aren't jabbed because the health and safety of the employees is at risk. Well, guess what? All the people that got jabbed that's at work are super spreading and actually passing along the damn thing. Because little did they know after the fact, oh, even though you're poking, you can still get it. Even though you're poking, you can still test positive. Oh, so now after all that's being revealed, that plays into the fact of where and how the Supreme Court can step in and say, look, that's ridiculous. It's not helping and it's not going to stop anything. So they told him, hey, you're out of pocket. You can't do that. You're overstepping your legal bounds. Okay. Requiring the vaccination of 84 million Americans selected simply because they work for employers with more than 100 employees certainly falls in the latter category, the court wrote. So, the court was justifying and then giving an understanding as to why they didn't. You have some of the Supreme Court who was opposed to it and saying why they felt as though that the Supreme Court wasn't uh, being compliant, you know, with what the president wanted and what Congress wanted. You know, see this? Liberal justices Stephen Breyer, Sonia Sotomayor, and Ellen Kagan dissented, writing that the majority has usurped the power of Congress, the president, and OSHA without legal basis. You see that? And this is important too when you're looking at this because I'm gonna bring out another article later that if anybody's going against Congress, the president, or it's governmental agencies, it's a problem. It's a problem. So here we go right here. You see the big news, the blockage of the mandates, right? Okay. So here's something else though, and why that's nothing to be celebrated at this particular point. Look, the damage is done. The damage has already been done. Breaking. Biden administration making lists of religious jab objectors. See, they've already collected the data that they needed. The dissidents, the ones who's going against the system and the program that's been lined up. Do you understand? All they needed, they just needed data collection. So most jobs and most people who know and understand what we were facing, we know that the government and slow Biden, as of last year, when he put out this mandate, he initially said that January 4th, the mandate need to go down and all of the companies need to get compliant. Then they extended it out to January 10th. So if your job was affected by it, you would know that there had to be a survey, so to speak, that needed to be submitted in to your human resources or OSHA that verified whether you've been fully compliant and poked up, whether you've started your cycle of pokes, or if you're in denial of getting the poke and you have a religious exemption. So they want all classifications on record. Once that has been submitted in, now they've created a list and they're only concerned about those folks. Those folks. See, even my job, I couldn't submit, the process wasn't to submit your own letter. Their process was, we've got a embedded website link that you have to click on and fill out the necessary information and data and answer questions A, B, C, D, and E, and then submit it in for approval. And we'll get back to you. I don't know if anybody else has had that experience with your jobs, but there is a whole nother method to where it's not just some off the books. You can just give a letter in to your boss and everything's all good. No, this thing is based around data collection. So let's look at this real quick. A tiny administration agency in the District of Columbia announced a new policy. Notice it's a tiny one, not one that you would suspect, not one that you'd be looking out for. They slide in a little department. Remember, your adversary, the devil, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. They're not always gonna come. Them lions come out stealth, man. They camouflage themselves in the bushes and all of that other stuff, man. They move slow. They act like they sleep, jump up and grab you. So, a tiny administrative agency in the District of Columbia, that's Washington, D.C., announced a new policy Tuesday, just this Tuesday. Remember, all of the said questionnaires that need to be submitted in to be compliant with the government had to be submitted in by the 10th. So, come the next day on the 11th, this policy gets introduced that will likely serve as a model for a whole government push to assemble lists of Americans who object on religious grounds to the jab. The PreTrial Services Agency for the District of Columbia, that's the name of the company. Okay. Matter of fact, let's see if we can legitimize them. Let's see if we can legitimize them. Hmm? Oh, a .gov site, USA.gov. Oh, so this is legitimate, huh? Mm, but look what they do. The Pretrial Services Agency for the District of Columbia is a federal agency responsible for gathering information about newly arrested defendants and preparing the recommendations considered by the court and deciding release options. We recommend the least restrictive conditions that promote public safety and return to court. So they're involved in criminal court cases. Hmm. Imagine that. Criminal. Let's get back. Okay. A federal independent entity that assists officers in the District of Columbia courts in formulating release recommendations and providing supervision and services to defendants awaiting trial, announced a new record system that will store the names. Let me highlight this for y'all. The names and personal religious information of all employees who make, quote, religious accommodation requests for religious exemption from the federally mandated jab requirement. So the list has already been began. Now, full disclosure for YouTube and anybody else that's hating, nobody knows what the agency is going to do with this list. So don't try to twist the words and say, oh, they're going to do it to do this, they get the camp. I didn't say that. You put two and two together, y'all. You figure out and you use your own discernment to figure out where and why would they create these lists and why do they need to know who's seeking religious exemptions. Why is that important? that a database has to be made and collected of individuals who are acting as dissidents when it comes down to mandated jab requirements. Ask yourself that. And then you can kind of figure out why they're saying, hey, don't say why we're making this list, because we haven't told anybody. Okay, I'm not saying anything. We just had to use discernment and put two and two together, y'all. So let's finish this up. The announcement does not explain why the agency needs to create this list. There we go. Except to say that it will assist the agency in the collecting, storing, and dissemination. That's important. We're going to get that next. The agency needs to create this list, except to say that it will assist the agency in collecting, storing, dissemination, and disposal of employee religious exemption requests, information collected and maintained by the agency. In other words, the list will help the agency make a list. Oh, so they're doing the data entry, huh? Well, what's dissemination mean? Oh, how about this? Let's look at this. What does dissemination mean? It's the act or processing of disseminating, distributing, spreading, broadcasting. Oops, my bad. Broadcasting or dispersing widely. The word is especially used in reference to distribution of information or things that contain information like files and documents. So, spreading, broadcasting, sharing, you understand? All of those things are words to describe disseminating. So, they're going to collect information so that they can spread, broadcast, you know, share information about this list. Who are they going to share it with? Who are they spreading it to? Who are they going to broadcast this to? You want to know? I can't tell you. But I'm gonna give you a couple more hints though. The announcement also does not say what the agency will do with this information after it has decided an employee's religious accommodation request. Now, check this out. And neither does the announcement explain why the Biden administration chose to test this policy. Notice it, test this policy in an agency with a majority black staff. Did you hear that? The pretrial services staff is majority black. So, well, all right, let me finish this. Let me slow down. So, majority black staff who are both more religious and less vaccinated than other groups. So much for the president's commitment to racial equality. So, even this article, man, the Edomites is even noticing, and they're saying, hold on, this looks like another test that they're involving black folks in. I mean, haven't we been experimented enough? Are we not tired of being the test dummies for everything that goes on? You know, we've had the Tuskegee, we've had for the 10 tribes, man, the Guatemala experiments that was going on for STDs. I mean, we've had a number of different medical experiments involving smallpox and so forth and so on, man. Biological warfare. We've been the poster childs for all of these particular tests, all of the oppression, all of the struggle, and now guess who's the primary targets when it comes down to creating lists regarding the unjabbed and religious exemptions. They're readily admitting and saying that so-called blacks are more religious and less vaccinated than other groups. Why? Because we're the ones that submitting in these exemptions. We're the ones saying based upon our religious beliefs, we're leading the charge. Even though you got the little white evangelicals and you got the tinfoil hat cats and all them other ones who's out here standing their ground saying I'm not getting it either. But guess what? They ain't going to go to them first. They going to you niggas first, Spicks first, as they would look at us. You understand? So the articles even saying that so much for the president's commitment to racial equality. So there's a targeted group that this list is surrounded around. Okay. We're starting to suspect that President Slow Biden is not keeping his promise to having the most transparent administration in history. You think? Okay. So, list is being made, data's been collected already. What's the big deal? Oh, well, the big deal is this. Let's move to the next um, piece of the puzzle. Justice Department is creating a unit focused on domestic terrorism. Oh, so you say, well, what's that got to do with us? That's for the right wing, Edomites, skinheads, and all them other ones. Really? Remember this from 2017? The FBI's new U.S. terrorist threat, black identity extremists. I mean, you already on the list. You already considered an extremist. And the so-called Negro man is too busy tap dancing in church, too busy flip-flopping his way all in the clubs, too busy on Instagram and TikTok dancing and all of that to really understand and know, man, you already been identified. Why are they saying it's extreme for blacks to know their identity? Do you see you see the focus? Who else are they talking to? Who else was lost from there and discontinued from our heritage? Who else needs to be found? Jeremiah 17:4. Look at this. And thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thine heritage. So when we've been cut off from our heritage, that means we don't know our nationality, we don't know our language, we don't know our culture, we don't know how to observe our holy days anymore, we don't know how to memorialize each other no more. I mean, listen, who needs identity? You even got these damn so-called Negroes, man, that keep running around here, the Pan-Africanists and the Kemetic community and all that. All they want to exalt is Africa. Africa is a big ass continent, man. With over, I don't even want to put it out there and get the number wrong. How many countries are in Africa? Before somebody say, yeah, you don't even know about it. Listen, 54 independent countries, okay? And we can't identify exactly which one we come from. Of course, us as Israelites, we're gonna say that ain't point A. That's point B. And some that will dispute that. And will say, hey, point B actually was in Europe, Spain, Portugal, so forth and so on. That's neither here nor there. Point of the matter is we're still trying to find out where point A is as a collective. So any other nation that's been in chattel slavery, any type of captivity, even under their own people, they've always gotten their language back, their culture back. They've always gotten land back. Reparations have been paid. Who else is out here still trying to identify, still have an identity crisis besides so-called blacks and Hispanics? Explain that. See? And thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in a land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. So the Most High, has acknowledged that we've kindled a flame of anger within him that caused him to discontinue us from our heritage, man. The great legacy that we have and we see of our forefathers and foremothers, others Bible, man, and the pedigree that we descend from completely got lost in the shuffle. Now we need to come back and find it. But guess what? White man says that is outlawed. If you even try it, you're being extreme. So a terrorist threat has already been identified. And see how slick he does it. And this is why I was saying earlier. Look, even those because this will be centered around because they keep talking about the January 6th thing, the whole insurrection with the Edomites, man, storming the Capitol. Because of that situation, they've painted with the broad brush to allow in any and all other quote unquote extremist groups. So they do the damage and we get the blame, in other words. Even though you got a few of them, they're catching their little court cases, they going through they dissidents or going through their judgments. But guess what? And most I will on the next DS10 I do, there's evidence of FBI agents provocateurs that was in there inciting that whole thing. So now there's even evidences of saying that there was a possible false flag coup going on. You know, people getting led as sheep ready for the slaughter, following along with some agents, and they messed around and bit the bait and got in too deep. Oh, it goes deep, y'all. But guess who else is gonna get included in it? Their black folk was even involved in that crap. Not saying nobody, none of them was there, but what we seen televised, 98% of them people on there was all black. I mean, was all white. The damn black folks that was in there was the damn security running from the Edomites. So the FBI's new terrorist threat, black identity extremists, law enforcement calls it a violent movement. Critics call it racist. So not only do Jace get lumped in because of that January 6th madness, that's going to actually be part of the scenario. But then you also have BLM and all these other little extremist groups, so-called extremist groups, that's getting funded by George Soros and Open Society and the rest of these damn Edomites that's out there motivating these damn LGBTQ HIV communities to proclamate the situation to make it seem as though it's a black thing when it really ain't. I mean, you had the mother cast, man, the NFAC, the not effing around crew or whatever the hell, Grandmaster J&M. I mean, these cats is out here doing armed marches and all of that, threatening insurrection and threatening of violence, but never doing anything. When they had that march down there in Georgia, uh, I mean, this cat, he's out here quoting scriptures and talking about we the children of Israel. They ain't seen their fringe, their beard, their Bible in hand. But where the cat came from, I have no idea. And you know, I'm not gonna sit up here and discredit the brother. I don't know. I'm saying I didn't see, I hadn't heard of, didn't know nothing about it until they popped up on the scene. But why would he include a biblical narrative to the initial time when they marched out there and talking about the children of Israel? I mean, if you ain't noticed, man, they've been trying to lump us in to this category of extremism for a long time now. Long time. I mean, you had the Bonnie and Clyde, your brother and sister, back in the New Jersey shootings a few years ago. They try to lump that in and say, "Oh, they was black Hebrew Israelites did it. It's a hate crime." You had the brother from Waukesha that just did ran random people over at the Thanksgiving parade. Oh, he's a black Hebrew Israelite. I mean, they're constantly trying to lump us in. They want us to be brought up on charges of sedition, like they did Yahweh Shai. So the stage has already been set. You understand? So I brought that out just to show. Look, they've already set the stage of acknowledging and saying, um, domestic terrorists, oh, any black identity extremists. You know, they already said we're extreme and we're too extreme with the Bible. Now you're just being extreme because you're trying to identify with yourself. So the stage is set. So the Justice Department is creating a unit focused on domestic terrorism. That's their focus now, right? So now that this unit is when it happened, January 11th. Oh, a day after the information needed to be submitted in for this, putting two to two together, huh? Okay. So they get the list and information is disseminated. Remember that? Information gets disseminated to somebody else. And why is this important? You're going to see in a second. The Justice Department is establishing a specialized unit focused on domestic terrorism. The department's top national security official told lawmakers Tuesday, as he described a quote, elevated threat for violent extremists in the U.S. Assistant Attorney General Matthew Olson, testifying just days after the nation observed the 1-year anniversary of the insurrection at the Capitol, isn't that convenient? Said the number of FBI investigations into suspected Domestic violent extremists has more than doubled since the spring of 2020. Look at this. Quote, we have seen a growing threat from those who are motivated by racial animus. What do they say about you Israelites? You're extremists, you're racist, you're separatists, you're all of the above. You're a cult, right? So this is the target who they're looking at. The threat of those who seem to be motivated by this, right? As well as those who ascribe to what? Extremist anti-government. Well, who told you the pokes was mandated? Did not come from slow Biden and the government? And if you're against that and you file for an exemption based upon religion, you're anti. You're against. Isn't that what anti means? Maybe I gotta look it up. Hold on. Oh, the meaning of anti is one that is opposed. Oh, now it's making sense. So we have seen a growing threat from those who are motivated by racial animus, as well as those who ascribe to extremist anti-government. So if you're extreme and you're going or opposed to the government, you don't like the mandates. Oh no, you don't like LGBTQ. Oh no, you don't like uh the diet that's being provided and all that other stuff, man. You against the government. And what else? And anti-authority ideologies. Oh, so we don't bow down to man. We worship and praise the Most High, so forth and so on. I mean, the scriptures tell us not to follow a multitude to do evil. We live by a biblical code that is not subject to following after the ways of the nations and the heathens. We live by a code that says we're not supposed to elect or have a king over us that's not of our nation. Sounds familiar, huh? Okay, so that's all I'm gonna bring out about this. That's what this is all centered around. You put it together. Justice Department is creating a whole unit that's only focuses on domestic terrorism. And who are those people? Those that's motivated by racial animus, extreme anti-government, anti-authority ideologies, black identity extremists. See, and information is now being disseminated by the troublemakers. See, that's why I said the war ain't over. Was it a victory? Is it something for you niggas to be running out in the streets, toasting glasses of Hennessy and having fun and saying, yeah, can't wait to go back to work and get my boss the finger? I think not. Look a little deeper, y'all. All praise, honor, and glory to the Most High. Why Yahweh Shai. This is DSTM on the spot. This is number 75. I had to get this information out there. It wasn't a scheduled um, DSTM, but hey, you can see it was necessary. So until the next time we meet, most I permit, I'll have be ready to go live for the next DSTM this weekend on the Shabbat, whether it's in the Friday Night Lights or if it's a Sabbath late morning edition. We'll decide. Stay tuned. Make sure that you've hit that like button, man. Help your brother out with this algorithm. Make sure that you continually have subscribed, man. If this information is of value to you and somebody that you love or man, share it. Share it to your Instagram. Share it to your Facebook. Share it to your other social media platforms that you're involved in. If you're on Twitter, whatever, hey, share this information because it's necessary and it's needed in this particular point in time. We already talked about it earlier, man. The birth pains is hidden hour after hour. So with that, I'm gonna give everybody a hearty shalom, shalom, and peace. And always remember to fear the Most High, keep the commandments, and don't you ever shoot that messenger.